Kingdom people, they are trying to tear you down because they didn't build you up. They are trying to tear you down because they didn't build you up. And so, listen, what's going on here, Kingdom people, is you pretty much move solo, so to speak. Although you do, you know, interact with other people, you probably do business with people in your work. You have to interact with people. And outside of that, you are very particular about who you deal with. And so there are these people who, these are just not the kind of people you would interact with. For one, you recognize the spirits that are operating in them. And I said spirits with an S, plural. You recognize it because they have shown themselves. And so these are the kind of people that are confused because they are conditioned to believe that everybody is looking for somebody to validate them, to build them up, to accept them. And it's really because that's how they are. And that's probably a lot of what they experience. It's a very common thing, Kingdom people. It's very common. And so because you're not like that, it's confusing to them. And so because you're not dependent upon them to lift you up, to validate you, to make you feel like you somebody, they want to tear you down. And they want to tear you down because it's very clear that you're sure of yourself. You know who you are. You know where you're going. You good. You just move like you know what you're doing. And you move like that because God is leading the pathway. He's leading. He's ordering your steps. The steps of a good man or a woman are ordered by the Lord. Also, scripture says he will lead you along the best pathway for your life, advise you, and watch over you. And so you move like that because he's leading you. He's advising you. He's watching over you as you're doing what he's telling you to do. And so these people don't know nothing about that. They're ruled by their egos. You pretty much have died to your ego or killed your ego, so to speak. You don't live through your ego. You live through Christ. The Christ in you lives in you. And that's what you live in. And so this looks really different for these particular kind of people because, again, they live through their ego. They're very carnal, and it's understandable because this is just what it is. But because they're accustomed to people looking to them for validation, and they look to others for validation, they're taken aback by you. And they even want you to validate them. But because you don't give them any opening, because again, you've already identified who they are, the spirits that operate through them, you don't even allow room for any kind of interaction with them in any, significant capacity, then they're not able to get that kind of engagement with you, or it's no room for what they're looking to do and what they're looking for you to do. So, and I'm hearing camaraderie. And so, anyhow, they see that you're good on your own. And really what it is, you good with God. But they see you as being good on your own. They see that they see it as independent, but really you're God dependent. They see that you know who you are, But really what it is, you know who God has created you to be, who you are in him and who he is in you. And so they don't have any of that. They have no knowledge or understanding of any of that. What I just said is foreign to them. They have no clue about these kind of things. And so they feel away because you seem to, in their mind, have made it, in their mind, as I said, because you know who you are. You move like it. You operate like it. They don't have that. These kind of people are very insecure. They have very low self-esteem. They have false confidence, if you will. And they're very prideful people. But it's because they really feel really small inside. They haven't done the work, the inner work. And again, they don't know nothing about that. What I'm saying, the work, doing the work, working on yourself. They're like, what's that? They don't get it. And so they see you as already being built up. And you are, because God has built you up. Doesn't mean he's not continuously building you up, because he is. They see you as being built up. And they feel away because they didn't do it. They ain't even built themselves up. They built themselves up with a lot of mess, But what they see in you is what they feel like they lack in themselves. And I'm thinking right now, how can they feel like be trying to tear you down, wanting to tear you down because they didn't build you up, and they ain't even built themselves up, as I already said. What they've built themselves up to be, and I'm sure they had some help with that, is not good. So they can't build up what they see in you because that ain't in them to do. People can't give you what they don't already have. I learned this years ago, how when God is taking you somewhere, or you're on your way somewhere, I'm going to say on a higher level, people who haven't gone or been where you're going can't help you get there. In fact, people who have these envious and jealous, wicked spirits, not only can they not help you get there, when they become aware that you're trying to go somewhere that they haven't gone, probably don't want to either, but they just don't know nothing about that, they will try to stop you from getting there. And then these are usually the same people who try to take credit after the fact for where you are or whatever you accomplish, when in fact they can't even do that for themselves. They know nothing about what you've done and what you're doing, but they want the credit for it. Furthermore, they also have attempted to stop it. So where am I going with this? They want to tear you down because they didn't build you up. They want to tear you down because they can't take credit for who you are. They want to tear you down because you don't engage them and you didn't even give them a chance, kingdom people, to try to tear you down. You didn't give them a chance. And the ones that you had to move around because you probably seen that they were trying to tear you down, or was just on some crazy, some goofy jealousy or whatever, when you seen, again, those spirits operating in them, listen, you had to move around them. And you still became who God called you to be. You're still becoming that. You're still being that. And continuously becoming more and more of who God calls you to be. And these are people that want to take credit for it, but because they can't take credit for it, they want to tear you down because they had nothing to do with you being built up. I'm reminded of how at the last church that I was going to, I shared my experience when I exited. Had to exit there. But how God was showing me how to pastor some things he was doing. And he said he's trying to break you down. And I was like, how you gonna break who God has built? And so that's their issue. You've been built and it had nothing to do with them. So they want to break you. Going back to the church, I've experienced this over and over and over quite a few times in churches where when I come, it is pretty obvious that I already know God, that I already have a relationship with him. And it's not like I come in, broke it down, busted and disgusted, and I'm just, and this be bothering. This has bothered some pastors and leaders. It has bothered them. In the end, they resort to trying to break me because they didn't have anything to do with building me. Now, here's the thing about that. I've shared this before here. It's been some time ago, but I've been to maybe the last couple of churches, I'll say for certain. Yes, I was going there and the messages were not meaty messages. In other words, some of us, we're more mature spiritually. And so we need meat. We ain't on milk no more. But we'll take sometimes, depending on, as long as it ain't Similac and Enfamil and that stuff, we'll take some milk. You know what I'm saying? Some regular milk, whether it's soy milk, whether it's almond milk, cow milk, goat milk. We'll take that. Because what that can do is reinforce the basics for you. Or it just can add on to what you already know. And many times in my experience, it confirms certain things for me to let me know I'm on the right track. It's, I've had both where it's a reinforcement and where it lets me know you're on the right track. And again, sometimes, I didn't say this yet, but it's not just milk always. Sometimes I've experienced, not the last church, but the one before that, they added on to some things that I already knew. So it was like bonus stuff. And I would take it in, what was helpful. Yet, I knew some things already. And when that became obvious, the attacks began. And so at first it was from the lady pastor. And then when the first time that the male pastor threw his blow, that's when God kind of, not right away, but I didn't go back after that. Because now you get ready to jump in. And God didn't want me to be there for that. So anyhow, point is, they feel away because they didn't have anything to do with your maturity, and in this case, your spiritual maturity. And it's not, again, that they don't contribute to add on to what it already is already there. A lot of these pastors are accustomed to people not knowing God, and the pastors feel like they're the ones bringing them to God and helping them to develop their relationship. And so when you're not that, when you already, seem like you got a good handle on things, it bothers them. And so they try to tear you down because they feel like they didn't build you up. I'm going to say to that point where you are. They didn't have anything to do with it. So they want to tear you down, tear it down. And I guess rebuild you up their way. I don't know. And what I find interesting is with that, particularly in these churches, is the churches, yes, is for the sick, but it's also for the equipping of the saints. So if you have somebody that comes in and they already kind of equipped, why not just receive that? But that just shows, because that's what happens, the spirits that are operating in them. It indicates that there's some work they need to do in themselves. And many a times, God will use, and I know in my case, God will use me to correct them. Now, whether they correct it or not, that's a whole nother thing. I know the last one, that man, he fought it and resisted it. God was showing me. He showed me he was resisting being corrected because he didn't want to be corrected. He felt like I'm the pastor. And I just heard, that just came to me because I remember years ago, this was years ago, at a whole totally different church in my hometown, Chicago. And I remember I think I mentioned this here before, but the man was telling me I called him the man, the pastor. He called himself ordaining me as a missionary. And so it was one missionary of the church already. She was an older lady. And I was about 20 years younger than I am now. Let's just say that. And so she normally would speak on missionary day. And so this particular Sunday, he said, I was going to speak. But God told me, no, you're not going to speak. Tell him that I said, let missionary speak, the other lady. I told him. And I told him that God told me to let missionary speak. That now I shouldn't be speaking. And I didn't feel like I was equipped at the time for anything like that. It was just, and God said, I was going to still go through with it, I guess. But when God said, and I told him what God said to me, this man said, I'm the pastor of the church. That's what he said. And when I heard him say that, I said, well, God is comes before you, even though you're the pastor of the church. I said, I listen to God above anybody, including the pastor of the church. And I said it in a nice way, but I made it very clear. Well, soon after I was gone from there, there was some other things that transpired, but it just was like a combination of different little things. You know how you see different things, and eventually God be like, get out of here. But my point is to say that sometimes people, these pastors in particular is what I'm talking about now, or even just other leaders in the church, if they feel like their word is bond, even above God's. They speak, they pray, and they do all of what they do in the name of God, but they really want to be God of your life. They just use God to get you to bow down to them, because in their mind, you got to go through them to get to God. And as we know, since Christ then came and died and been resurrected, we can go straight to the Father. But if you don't know better, if you don't know that, that's what they banking on, you not knowing that. Anyhow, not just the people in the church, but it be people that ain't nowhere near being in no church. Ain't thinking about no church. That feel the same way. They want to tear you down because they didn't build you up. They didn't build you up. Listen, I'm going to say this again. With their toxicity, and I say that yet, but with their toxicity, with their negativity, they can't build you up with that. That's designed to tear down. So it's kind of like an oxymoron. Y'all see how I did that? Because that's how it is. It's kind of twisted because they couldn't build you up anyway. What they really wanted to do was tear you down. What they really wanted to do was build themselves up off of you, feed off of you. But because you didn't let them, it angered them. And so now they feel like they want to tear you down because they didn't build you up. And I just got to say it one more time. They couldn't do what you are. They couldn't help you be who you are anyway. They ain't even in alignment with God or who God created them to be. So they definitely can't help you do that. Only people who are in alignment can help you, help you along your way. Not these gutter buckets is what I kind of call them. 'Cause that's all they can help you with is be gutter. And you're not trying to be gutter. You're not trying to be demonic or toxic. If anything, you work to probably come out of some toxicity and unhealthy and dysfunctional ways and out of your ego. So they couldn't help build you to who you are anyway. God did that for you and those who he used to help you in that. Nonetheless, they want to tear you down because they didn't build you up.